about now? Got it? Did y'all hear me in the beginning? Okay. I thought you probably did, the recording. My mother always said I was loud. I have an article the lady wrote back in 2011. That's how long I've had it. It's kind of tough, so I'm much warning you ahead of time, okay? Day by day, my husband is leaving me. We were high school and college sweethearts. He was my first and only love. We've been best friends for over 50 years and married for 47. Now he's leaving me. He's not leaving me for another woman or another passion in his life. He loves me very much. However, he is leaving me a little at a time. I'm mourn each part of his personality that disappears. By the time the casseroles and the sympathy cards appear, I will have completed the grieving process. There will never be an official mourning period because he's leaving so slowly. He was a Renaissance man who could repair a car, deliver a calf, conduct business meetings, read music. In high school, he played football in the fall. In the spring concert season, he played trumpet and baritone. He can no longer focus on a single task. We love to dance. Now he struggles to stand alone. He managed several farms and he can no longer make decisions. We enjoyed traveling. Now he can no longer drive. He was my confidant and knew everything that troubled me. I no longer confide because his leaving is my greatest sorrow. His mind is aging fast in the forward mode and his body slows yet struggles on. We don't know how long we will be in this process. The man who had the best mind of anyone I have ever known struggles to express himself. Widows are left to carry on without a partner or to share decisions. Wives are caretakers. I am both. Without the widow's right to mourn her husband's loss and without the wife's right to share responsibility. The illness affects both of us, but he is the one who needs prayers and compassion. The man who earned the respect of everyone with whom he dealt with has now become an object of pity. The man whose words could shape others' opinions can no longer remember words. Our grandchildren will never see the man who conducted meetings that steered a national organization handling millions of dollars. They will never see the man who was called the conscience of that organization. They will never know the man who met with national and international leaders. That is what deals me the most severe wound to me. People who knew him will see the terrible indignity dealt to him. People who are just meeting him will see a crippled mind and never know how beautiful it was. I would like to be angry, but no one is excluded from problems. Everyone has battles, and this is ours. I would like to feel self-pity, but until the last 6 years, we had a charmed life. I would like to cry. Instead, I would be thankful for a wonderful support group of children, family, and friends. I will think of other men and women traveling the same road. I will try to get through this with compassion, strength, patience, and even humor. It is important that in losing him, I do not lose myself. I lost my place, I'm sorry. I will thank God for our lives together and the man I have loved for so many years. As long as I'm able, I will take care of him. I will make him comfortable. I will seek guidance from hospice and rely on the their experience serving the terminally ill. I will seek medication if physical pain develops. However, since his diagnosis is Lewy body dementia, we will not spend our precious time together in doctor's offices searching for a non-existent cure. Instead, we will stay on the farm and watch our grandchildren play, cattle grazing, and an occasional eagle soaring overhead. I do not believe this was God's plan for us. I do not believe God causes some people pain and excuse others. This is just life. I will depend on God to help us through this bitter trial. I pray that God will show mercy on an honest and truly good man by shortening this cruel and relentless last stage of dementia. I promise I will not get in God's way if that happens. My husband is leaving me, and I will make it as easy as possible when he is ready to go. Learning to say goodbye. It's not easy. Jesus said in John 19:25 and following, standing near the cross, were Jesus' mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. And when Jesus saw his mother standing there beside the disciple he loved, he said to her, "Dear woman, here's your son." And he said to the disciple, "Here is your mother." And from then on, his disciple took her into his home. That Jesus was taking care of his mother and saying goodbye. Now, as we know and we've talked, that grief is facing life, how things have changed. It's filling the void. It's not just in the passing of a loved one. When we lose a job or a dream doesn't come, or a friend, a child, a spouse, parent. And even last week as we watched Jimmy Stewart talk about his dog, it hurts. And something that is very important to us is gone, kicks in what we call grief. You'd think we'd get accustomed to it, but we don't. We're never used to it when it happens. And in time, the reality of the separation starts to seek in, and sometimes we just don't want to go on. Sometimes we just want to quit. But as I've said to you before, it's not just in the passing of death, it's grieving other things, another stage of life. Retirement. I heard how bad retirement was. So far, it's been pretty good. I'm kind of enjoying it, And you guys let me work a little bit so I stay out of Sandy's hair. But when that last kid leaves home, there's mixed feelings. You're kind of glad, but you're kind of sad, right? And like I said, a lot of them are circling back, so it's a short-term thing. But there's a lot in our life that's grief that people don't even realize that it is. And so, if nothing else through all of this, maybe you've learned that. But what we want to do is to go through this process in a healthy way. Grief can be healthy. We can keep people alive in our minds. I've said that so many times, particularly at the graveside, that we can keep people alive in thinking about things that they've done. I've shared with you, when you think about things that they did that was funny, and laugh. And if you think about things and it makes you sad, well, cry. because as we've said, someone said God gave us tears to help wash away the pain. But it's okay. It's okay to think about them. Sandy's dad's been gone about 5 years, I think. Time does get away, and the older you get, the more passings and ways you have, and it's almost like I need a calendar to keep up with that, like I need to keep up with the doctor's appointments, But there's so much building going on in our area. I mean, where are all these people coming from? But, and why do you move out into the country and build houses this close together? That's a message right there, I'm kind of a country boy at heart. But he was a plumber, air conditioner man. He could build almost anything, fix almost anything. We were driving through the new subdivision, and I said to Cindy, I wonder what your dad would say about all of this. She said, well, he'd be out here every day watching them, and probably getting in their way, But it's okay to think those type of things. That's all right, yeah. But what is abnormal is feeling that we must do things in a way to please them even though they're gone. That we want to really be, for example, she would have wanted to have the house painted the white. She liked that color. We just need to be careful with that. And we've talked a little bit, and I just want to mention it about how unwilling to move things that was theirs or leave I talked to you about a boy that the family left the room there and it became a shrine. All that does is prolong. You cannot grieve through that is every time. And I understand we want to hang on. And it's a hard thing to let go. It's a hard thing to let go. But what all of that does, it just prolongs the grief process. And we can't get to healing. Because we want to get to a point where our hearts that have been ripped open, and next week we're going to talk about trauma, which is even worse to get over, in my opinion. We want to get to the point where our heart heals. Like I've shared with you before, I can tell you where these scars came from. I can remember when it happened, but I don't experience the pain that I did when I got them. So, most of these are from the grocery business. So far, I hadn't had any scars from being in the ministries. I've had several threats. I've been called a lot of things. And so what? So what? You got to answer. The person to do that have to answer for that. Maybe I needed it. I don't know. But we want to hold on to people in a healthy way. We don't want to forget people. How we are going to hold on to it in a healthy way is the way that they influenced our life lives on. Okay? How it influenced our lives, things that, there's a country song that I've heard, and it said, I hear voices. We're not talking about a mental issue there, but you hear voices from the past that may be something your mother said to you, or maybe your dad said to you, or your granddad. I know I've shared this with you before. If I've had a glass of milk, I don't know if this is healthy or unhealthy, but when I take a empty glass of milk to the sink, I always remember to wash it out. You know why? Larry, how come you didn't more? I'm not sure that's healthy, but I hear that. But I also think in my life about other people, football coaches and things like that have said to me that stuck with me in a good way. And it's okay. But we don't want to be so caught up that we can't move past and then we're trying to please somebody that's gone on, because for the Christian, they're really doing okay. Yeah, they're really doing all right. So you want to to be reminded that your loved one has passed on, but you know what? You're still alive. And even though some days you didn't feel like it, some days you didn't want to get out of bed. One day you wanted everybody just to leave you alone, right? Well, that's not going to heal you. You got to get back in it. And so, you know, and part of saying goodbye is, what do you do with their stuff? What do you do with their stuff? That's a hard thing. We've kind of touched on that. And so, you know, you can do just like what kind of like people say when you're downsizing, you can make I want to say piles, but I don't want to be disrespectful to their stuff. But you want to make a pile of the stuff you want to keep, a pile that you want to give away, and another pile that you don't know what to do with. Because that in time, you'll know what to do with that. But you can't keep everything. You know, the personal things that folks have, that's hard. That's just all there is to it. But going through all this type of stuff is all part of saying goodbye. All part of saying goodbye. It's not the easy part of letting go by any means, because goodbyes are very hard. Bring sadness. I remember as a young boy, I knew my grandparents were getting close to the age where they may not have too many more years. I mean, who knew that? But and in a childlike way, when I would leave their house, I wouldn't tell them goodbye. I'd say, see you later. And I knew what I was doing is that I didn't want to face the possibility that their days were short. But my granddad that I was so close to lived to be almost 92, so I should have just been telling him goodbye during all that time. And he's most of his life he did good. Sandy's dad, you know, lived on his own till the last 6 months, and he was 10 days short of 97. Had a good life, had an enjoyable life, and try to think on the things that were good, because saying goodbye is going to be hard, and you're going to need some positive in your life, because every loss in life, we got to understand that a connection has been broken. My brother and I and my cousin who lives in Tulsa, we're it from the nuclear family. And my cousin, who's 4 years older than me, said to me the other day, he said, you know, we're the old guys now. I said, thank you for reminding me that. I really appreciate that, but he's right. You know, we don't have, all of our uncles are gone, all of my aunts are gone, on both sides of my family. And so that's my stage of life. And boy, I have so many good memories of my family gatherings and the silliness, and I do. And I think about those. And when holidays come, I'll be truthful with you about that. Not that I've been lying about any of this. I miss it. I miss those family gatherings. And you know, I think I've told you when Sandy's family decided she had big, but they were kind of quiet. And one of the first times she was ever around the family, she said, your family's so loud. I said, they are? And because that's what she said, yeah, somebody be talking and another one just talk over them. And you just, yeah, well, yeah, that's just how we do. I miss that. And I guess I always will on this side of heaven. So, you know, you have to let go of a lot of things. You know, the funeral service, it recognizes that a person is gone without a doubt, but it's opportunities for the mourners to say goodbye. And sometimes people do things that you wouldn't think was normal. I mean, they may go up to the body laying there and they talk to it. And they say things, and that's okay. Sometimes they may reach over and kiss them on the forehead or something like that. They may touch their hand, stroke their hair. There's might not be for you, But there's nothing wrong with that. It's just all part of the process of letting go. I did a funeral not too long ago, and a little lady had a chair. And she sat by, during the visitation, she sat right by the casket where her husband's body was. And she just sat there and talked to him and talked to people. And I never had seen that before, but it was okay. It was okay because she was trying to let go and trying to say goodbye. But there's ways that you can do that. There's ways that you can say goodbye to people. You know, I have a plan. Of course, my plans don't always work out, but I have a plan that I'm going to write a letter to every one of my grandkids, and they can not to be opened after I'm gone. Now, if the rapture comes tomorrow, I haven't got it done, so I won't have to worry about it. But I want them to know how special they were to me, and what a great future I believe they have, and things of nature. That I want them to know in a more formal way, because I know they're going to be having to learn to say goodbye. There's grief's not fair, because you're hurting so bad and you've got to go through the process, and it's a lot of work, but it's okay to go to the cemetery and look where your loved one's been buried and talk. It's okay. And they won't lock you up. They won't take you to Tuscaloosa and put you in whatever, that's the places that they have now. I can't keep up with all that. They won't think you're crazy. It's just part of it. And they're not there, but it helps go through the system, through your system. So saying goodbye is really hard, but it's necessary. Now, and when you say goodbye, it doesn't mean that you don't love them, because you do. Christians, we have the hope of seeing one another again. We talk about that glad reunion day. I'm kind of looking forward to that. Yeah. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing maybe some family I never knew about, but I've always heard about. My great-granddad Andy died in 1929, and pictures that I've seen, and I have a picture. Some of you may have seen it on Facebook. A picture Sandy put together of me when I was about 18, 19, and next to him when he was about 30. And it's amazing how much we look alike. And I have a tendency to hold my head like this, and I don't even know it. And I'm not looking down my nose at anybody. It just must be comfortable. But we held our heads the same way. And I'm looking forward to seeing him someday. I'm looking forward to seeing my mom. Yeah, hope I'm going to get to see my dad. And there's so many of our family members. I look forward to that. And I'm not in a hurry. It's like that. You've heard the story about the preacher was talking and asked everybody if they wanted to go to heaven, and everybody raised their hands except that one little boy, you remember? And they went back and asked him, said, "Son, how come you didn't raise your hand?" He said, "Well, I thought you was getting up a load tonight." We all want to go. So we got to work through this, and our perspective, we are hurting so much inside, but our perspective on the one that's gone on has got to come into play. I miss your daddy immensely. But he's having a better time than we are. Bob Tyree and I had lots of good times. And I sometimes I drive by the home place and I look, well, they messed it up. But I think about the times when I drive by there, that good times Bob and I had back there in the shop working on golf clubs and stuff, and it's okay to have those kind of feelings. But we know the hope that we have in Jesus. But what happens sometimes in grief that is hard for people to process is they don't want to go back to any of the places where there was bad memories. Sometimes people don't want to have a funeral in the church of which they attend because they think, well, if I come back in there, I'm going to be reminded of that funeral. I understand that. Or they don't want to go back to the hospital because of certain things, or a nursing home, or where an accident has happened. I see these on the side of the road, people where there's been a wreck or someone's been killed, and they put up the crosses and stuff, and if that happened to me, I wouldn't want Sandy to do that. But for them, that's, I think, helpful. It's helpful through the process. Or I see sometimes when, particularly when a kid has passed away, on the back of a car, they'll have some kind of saying about them, or they'll have, if he were a ball player, they'll have his number there or something like that. And that's all part of the process, I guess. I mean, and it's okay. But going to those places where things happen, at some point you gotta face that, and you got to, if you want to really heal. We went through Mount Vernon when I was on that trip with the sixth graders. Jacob's a junior now, so, and we were passing by there, and they said, right here is the room where George Washington died. I thought, wow. I didn't see any signs of where he was there. But somebody in that family had to preserve that and to know that and to remember that. And as we went past it, you remember things that he did. One thing George Washington said, I wish we would have done, he said in his farewell address, he said, whatever you do, don't establish political parties. It's kind of like a mom telling a kid, don't do that, and then they go do that. Letting go. Facing where things are. See, because life's going to go on. The sun is going to come up tomorrow, and you're going to be okay. And like I said last week, it's okay to move on and to live your life. In or out of that house of mourning that we talked about, because remember what's grief? Adjusting to life that is changed. And with the power and the help of God, we make it through. There's a tremendous difference for the Christian in the way that we grieve than those that don't know Him. We don't grieve as those who have no hope. We still hurt. There's no doubt about that. But we look forward to that glad reunion day when we see Him again. Amen. Father, thank you as we continue on this study. Father, be close to the tender hearts tonight that are hurting. Heal them, because you've promised to heal the brokenhearted. And I believe that, and I thank you for that. In Jesus' name, amen. And one